Remember?
I've started memorization, but I find it hard to continue. How do I get motivated again? So I think when you're approaching memorization, going after motivation is a very twisted way to go about it because motivation is very, very inconsistent. It's like waves in an ocean, it comes and goes. So that means if there is no motivation, you wouldn't be able to continue. You need to find something bigger than that motivation. So with the rewards he mentioned earlier, that's something that you can always keep to kind of stay disciplined, to always remember what you're working towards. How do I stay on? I keep falling off every time I start. Anytime I start my memorization journey, I end up falling off. I have started my memorization, but I find it hard to continue. How do I get motivated again? So I think motivation doesn't get you very far because it's always on and off. So when you're not motivated, you would be unable to continue. You need to stay disciplined. You need to always remind yourself of your why. Think about why you started your memorization and use that to overcome any time when it gets difficult. And that's a follow-up question that I'll ask you. How did you overcome difficult moments?
Difficult moments in what sense?
When you just don't feel motivated to do your memorization, or you felt like you went extended periods without practicing. How do you get yourself back on track?
What were challenges you faced with motivation?
I think with motivation, it's always something that comes and goes. I believe if you're focused on motivation, then you'd always have periods where you wouldn't be able to move forward because you're just not motivated. And of course, as with anything good, the shaitan will always try to get you off track. And then I did mine personally during my time in university. So you can imagine that's the time when I had the most distractions available to me. So I think what it is just reminding yourself of why you're doing what you're doing, and then having a system to kind of get you back on track. What I used to do personally, anytime I felt overwhelmed or I felt like I wasn't making any progress, I would just significantly reduce my targets just to make sure I keep the consistency. So as opposed to stopping, I just made sure I lowered the bar significantly. If I was trying to memorize a page a day and I wasn't keeping up to that, I would just slice it down to a quarter a page, half a page, until I get the consistency back. So I think the important takeaway there for anyone watching this is to make sure that you're not stopping. It's very okay to reduce the amount that you're taking if you feel overwhelmed, but just make sure you're not completely stopping. And again, like with anything else, you need to put in the effort and then pray for Allah to help and make it easy for you. Can you tell me more ways in which memorizing the Quran has impacted your life?
I think it gives you a complete different perspective to life.
Wow.
Whatever comes to you, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Nothing would come to you that you would think, oh, something bad's going to happen to me. I think it makes you a much more complete believer. You just generally have the feeling of, peace and قُلْ لَنْ يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. It's like everything that happens to you, you're just like, oh, it's okay. Yeah, that's what Allah wishes, and eventually Allah comes through for you.
وَمَكَرُوا
And then you kind of everything that happens to you kind of related to the Quran, or you find an ayah to give you peace.
And I think that's the essence of what the Quran is meant to be for you. It's meant to be a guide for your life. So learning about the Quran, which is learning not just how to memorize, but learning more about the translation and the tafsir of the Quran, we see more ways in which you can apply it to your life. Another question I have, just to be a bit more practical for the audience, if I started today, how would I memorize? How do I actually go about my memorization process? How do I memorize half a page? How do I memorize a page?
I think everyone has a way that works for them, but it generally comes back to repetition. I've seen some people say read a certain amount of times, but I think it generally depends on who you are and what your brain could do. So just go at your own pace. Just keep repeating what you want to memorize over and over again till it sticks.
So you see, basically it's repetition. I think it's very important because a lot of people procrastinate because they don't know what technique or method to use. Honestly, end of the day, it all comes back to repetition. I spoke about going to the gym earlier, and I'll use another example here. Whatever routine or diet you have, at the end of the day, you still have to follow a diet and you still have to lift. So it same applies with the Quran. No matter what technique or method you want to use, at the end of the day, you still have to repeat a lot. That repetition is the thing that is actually going to make your memorization stick. So you just need to find what works best for you. I have a friend that memorizes more by listening, and personally, I'm a visual learner. So I think maybe finding a balance between both listening and looking at the Quran yourself, you can find out what works best for you and just take it further. Any closing remarks? What advice do you have for someone that's starting today?
Don't look at how long the road may seem, because at the end, it's completely worth it. It's the best thing you can do for yourself.
Don't be phased by the road, stay consistent. Don't focus too much on the destination, focus on the journey. And always remember that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Keep it in your mind that if you want to memorize the Quran starting today, you're going into a lifetime commitment with the Quran. And inshallah, that's all you need. May Allah make it easy for us and for you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And Jazakallah khair Alamin for sharing your insights. Thank you so much. May Allah bless and reward you.